Like I had a conversation with a friend of mine who like I kind of have like fallen back from the friendship because it was just a lot of things. She's a white woman, beautiful spirit, but she's very ignorant to certain things. She has a company that, you know, she hires people or whatever. Mind you, we've been friends for a while. I think I did one gig with her and we went on a trip and she's, you know, we're drinking, having a good time. And then they asked us like, well, how do you know her? Oh, she works for me. And I looked at her, I was like, I don't work for you. Like, why? And in my mind, I was just kind of like, we have been friends. Like, first of all, the gig that I did for you was to help you out because one of your people felt, you know, like they canceled on you. And two, we had been friends for a whole year before we did any work together. And three, that's not even how we met.
That's it, that's all. That's it, that's all. How you feel? That's it, that's all. That's it, that's all. Black excellence at its finest. How that skin glows, she's a true diamond. With the world at her back, she's still smiling. Never let that crown till she stays thriving. That's it, that's all. That's it, that's all. Keep it real. That's it, that's all. That's it, that's all. Is that really it though?
What up, what up, what up? This is That's It, That's All. And I'm your host, Casey Carnage. You already know. And today we got some lovely ladies on the couch. The girls today are Michelle Brown.
Hello, y'all. How y'all feeling?
And we got Ellen Branch.
What's up?
And today, you know, just, I had a conversation with one of my other counterparts, and I say others, but you know what I mean by others. And it kind of struck a concept and, you know, something I wanted to talk about. You know, we're going to talk about microaggressions because, you know, it happens to us all the time where people do stuff, they say stuff, knowing in the back of their mind it's offensive, or they wouldn't do it to someone that looks like them, or say something to someone that looks like them, but they'll do it to us and put a smile on their face and say, I'm sorry. And it's not okay. So let's educate you for a little bit. Before I talk about, for those who don't know what microaggressions are, or, you know, are ignorant to what they can mean, I'm just going to read you the definition because that's what we're here for, all right? Microaggressions are everyday slights, put downs, invalidations, and offensive behaviors that people experience in daily interactions with generally well-intentioned individuals who may be unaware that they have engaged in demeaning ways. So let's just drop right into it, okay? Have you guys experienced microaggressions, and tell me about it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think the one that immediately came to my mind when you was reading it was, you're pretty for a black girl, or you're so articulate. Like, what? That don't make sense. You expect me to speak to you like you are my mother or my family member, and I know you and we're familiar, because I'm college educated, but I can get real country real quick. So I think that's the hard part, because there's no word for like a white person that's not educated or not literate or not well-spoken. So I think that to outwardly say it to someone that's black is kind of like a little jab. I think that's what microaggressions feel like. They're like tiny little jabs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Michelle?
I feel like what comes to my mind, so I'm corporate. And so corporate, you know, I'm one of the few black people at my job, and you see it come out. Like, we actually had a whole incident because I will say my company as a whole really does support like diversity. So they had a well-known like author, speaker, CEO speak. She was black, African American, and then the white bosses in the chat like had said something, because the speaker, she did like to dance or something like that. And then she says something like, she would be like great night entertainment or something like that. Just kind of putting it down, like all these things that this woman had, all these accolades, all these accomplishments. And it's like, you wouldn't say that about a white woman. You just wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And luckily my team has a few other black women as well. So we kind of came together and was just like, that's inappropriate. And again, luckily my company don't play that. So it was handled, but it's like, you speak without thought.
Right. And I think one of the number one microaggressions, and it's going to keep happening for a while. Don't touch my hair. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why that's one of the biggest like microaggressions to me is because there's no way you would go and grab another white woman's hair. Yeah. Like you're not going to do it. Like regardless, you're just not gonna be like, oh my God, you're not gonna do it. So like, why do you think you should be able to touch and comb through? Like, stop doing it. Especially not asking first. Like, it's okay to like, maybe you've never seen it. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. We're in 2023. Maybe you've never seen it and you're curious, but you just go and not only just my hair, just don't touch me. Yeah. Like in general, don't touch me without asking. And it's the craziest thing because it's always like, well, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Because you wouldn't do it to somebody that looks like you. And that is the big deal. And I don't understand why that concept has not been, what's the word I want to say? That
fully grasped. Like
fully grasped. Like, why didn't you get it? Okay. So so you talked about in your workplace.
Yeah.
How have you handled these situations? Like in your workplace, I think you already talked about it, and also in your personal life.
I think the main thing is you have to be ready for the conversation. So like even when you say, you wouldn't say this, maybe someone else lets it go. You know what I mean? So I think you have to be prepared to have the hard conversation and still be respectful, but at the same time shut it down. So I think just bringing it to that person's attention, making it aware that you're not okay with it. Because I've also been around people where, something happens to them and they just kind of brush it off because they'd rather avoid the confrontation or avoid, maybe hurting this person's feelings or whatever the case might be. But you really do have to be prepared to say something.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, I'm lucky enough to not necessarily have to deal with a lot of white people at work because I work in a predominantly Black space and woman-dominated Black space. So we all kind of vibe off of the energy of you're good at what you're good at. We talk. It's like all the aunties, and everybody's together. But when I did work in I worked at Starbucks for 2.5, almost 3 years, and there were a lot of instances where I had to just not say anything, right? Because the customer, okay, they're gonna get their coffee, they're gonna leave. That's what I had to tell myself. And there were moments where I wanted to jump over the counter and be like, you don't know who you're talking to. Like, I've had people call me Brownie. Like, it just like, it's little things that you be like, why? Where does that even come from? Yeah. But like, it's supposed to be derogatory. And I think when I have the opportunity to speak to someone, it's not really in that avenue. There was really no opportunity to do it. But I think now, if I was working in an environment, I would be like, hey, like you said, have the conversation. Like, hey, I don't know where you think that's okay. In a very polite way. Right?
For real.
Like respectfully. Like, right? I put that in all my emails, respectfully, because I'm not trying to say nothing rude, but I'm going to make sure that you understand my perspective. Yeah. And then just putting everything in writing. That's the one thing that I always tell people, like, don't have a conversation with anybody. I don't care if it's like business related. Put that shit in writing, like text message, that email.
Paper trail.
Mm-hmm.
That paper trail is real. No. I mean, I guess in my workspace, before, I started working for myself, I worked in a lot of places where I was the only Black person, and I would be like, okay, I'm looking around. And I'm also from the suburbs too, so I'm kind of used to that until I went to like my HBCU is when I like got a reality check about what was going on in life. But I guess in my workplace, it was always like, oh, you're different. Oh, you're different than most, like, like different than what? And then you say like different than what? And they look at you like stunned, like, like,
don't you know?
Don't you know
you Black?
Don't you know? I mean, I know I'm Black, but like, what do you mean I'm different? And as far as like my personal life, I was like, I literally, like in the top of the show, I was telling you, like I had a conversation with a friend of mine who like I kind of have like fallen back from the friendship because it was just a lot of things. She's a white woman. Beautiful spirit, but she's very ignorant to certain things, and I don't use ignorant like she's ignorant, but like ignorant to certain things when it comes to like she's
blissfully ignorant.
Probably
like she knows it's there, but she doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean
care.
she's white, but she's not white American. You know what I mean? So it's like in her realm, that's not where she is, but she needs to know where she lives at now. But it was like, okay, so she has a company that she hires people or whatever, and I've heard her talk about other stuff. Oh, this girl works for The Voice, blah 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 blah. And mind you, we've been friends for a while, like, and I think I did one gig with her. She hired me on one gig, and we went on a trip. And she's, we're drinking, having a good time. And one of the guys was like, she was like, oh yeah, this is one of my best friends, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then they asked, I was like, well, how do you know her? Oh, she works for me. And I looked at her, I was like, I don't work for you. Like, why? And in my mind, I was just kind of like, we have been friends. Like, first of all, the gift that I did for you was to help you out because one of your people felt, they canceled on you. And two, we had been friends for a whole year before we did any work together. And three, that's not even how we met. So
what story you
for
telling
you?
Strikes, you are out.
So like for me, I was just kind of like, why would you say that? And then I brought it up to her recently, and she was like, oh my God, that's not what I think, blah, blah, blah. And I just like, and my whole thing is just like, regardless of how drunk you are, like, Ellen, we've been friends. I would never, like, I don't care if I'm sloshed. That's not, if this is my friend, that is not a response I would have given to anybody. So that was just very like,
or it could have been we've worked together, or we're both in entertainment. Like,
but that's not how we met. So I can understand why that would come out. You know what I mean? So just like, okay, but whatever. But like some of those things happen, and you're just kind of like, it is a slight, it is a backhanded compliment, because even if I did work for you, that's not how we met. That's not what our friendship has been.
Nor what I would like to be introduced as.
Exactly. The help. That's kind of what I felt like. I was the help. I'm like, okay. So I have another question. Have you dated outside your race? And have you experienced any of this with them or their family?
Father God, yes. All the above. All of the above. Okay, so I make it a habit not to know what your questions are, so that it'll be like, off the cuff type energy. So I read through and I thought about, okay, what could I pull out the hat? Yes, I was in a relationship for almost 6 years with a white person, and during COVID and Trump
I forgot. I was say for real. I forgot.
I was.
6 years, you forgot.
No, I forgot who it was.
It's like, what you talking about? But yeah, no, for real. And we were both from the same state, and we kind of grew up the same. So we had some similarities, but when it came down to like home life and what her parents were teaching her and what I was learning back at my home, it was just different. And I didn't really notice it until COVID happened and like Trump got elected and like all these things started happening, where the voices of her family members were getting a lot louder and more pronounced because they agreed with a lot of the things that they were, preaching. And it was hurtful because we stuck in the house together. And now I'm learning that you come from people who think that Black people are not human, like type energy, and or subhuman.
Did you guys have conversations about it?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we had arguments about it because I'm like, do you not realize that this shit is racist? Like, okay, so one time she was telling me about an instance when she was in middle school getting ready for high school, and she was really good at softball. So it was like, I'm gonna, go to the best school. And the best school was in an area that she didn't live in. The area she lived in was predominantly Black people in that area. So already she's addressing the issue of the white school gets more money, the girls do better, they go and be able to do more with their sport. And she's like, why would I want to go to the Black homeschool and be a big fish in a little pond when I can actually become like competitive and do something with what the gift I have? And I was like, who told you that? Like, where did you learn that? You know what I mean? Because this is what we encounter when people think that everybody has the same opportunities in the United States. And it's like, if you are living in that area with all them people, that's where you deserve to be. Yeah. You shouldn't be using somebody else's address to then go to a better school, right? So it's like little things like that make it really like, okay, there's a flag, but it's a flag on the play.
It's a flag on the play.
So
my question is, not to interrupt you, do you think it's a flag on the play because she was white, or because I know
she knew there would be no competition because it was all black
But
girls
here's the
at the
thing.
school that was her homeschool.
But here's
There
the
would be
thing:
no
I've had
competition.
people that were black that did that in my state, like in my
Right.
state, like
That
they
are trying to go to a
like they're
different
trying
high
to go to a
school,
different
yeah.
high school because they
Yeah.
have better opportunities.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, was it a flag on the play because she was white, or was it a flag on the play because of what?
It was a flag on the play because of the reason why she chose to do it. Because she thought that she was too good to be at that school and actually get looked at and like get opportunities. Because no one's gonna come and see a whole bunch of black girls play softball. That was the mindset. And I was like, okay. And it was just one of them little, tally marks on my head. And then I think that's when I started to sit back and be like, okay, so how do you view, relationships? We have all these, ideas of what roles people are supposed to play in relationships. And I know that I'm more masculine, but that doesn't mean that I'm not wanting to be able to be taken care of. And I think that those little things attached to the race being different and us just experiencing life different, like it was a lot to have on top of just normal, relationship issues.
and it's
normal
so hard
shit.
because it's come up a couple of times, like, but just even like you said it, like, did she blissfully like not know? Because there's that borderline too. Like, I've seen a lot of white people where it's like they've grown up only around white people, so yes, they say really ignorant comments because you've never even like been outside your bubble. You know what I mean? So of course those, oh, your hair looks so like comes out, and it's like you should know that's wrong, but it's also like you've been trapped in your own little bubble for so long. So it's like, I guess my question to y'all is like, how do you handle that borderline?
Well, for me, I just feel like, there's a thing sometimes. And don't get me wrong, like I'm for all women, but like in that particular situation, I've always felt she had a thing with me. I always felt we did the same thing, and she wouldn't blatantly say it, but you
Felt
could
like
see people's
competition.
act. Like
Yeah.
that's what it felt like. And anytime I've ever encountered another white woman that wasn't secure in their own and was like, because I have some beautiful, I have some beautiful white women friends who are strong, they're powerful, they go about their business and no issues with them. And then I have some who I love, but there's always that thing. It's always that, you walk into a room and it's like, oh, hey, Casey, whatever. And you're like, oh, look at me. You know what I mean? It's always that. And that is when I find about how do I handle that. For me, I pull out the game. I was like, look, I don't got time to fight or argue or try to be anything than what I am. And you got to deal with your own demons. That's how I move. You got to deal with your own demons. But as far as like going back to what I was saying, like I also was in an interracial relationship as well. And I would say the microaggressions that came from him was always proving that he only dates black women. So that was kind of strange.
Wow.
It was always like, oh yeah, you can take your hair out. I've seen it before. Or,
You could wear your bonnet.
you could like, it was that. It was like very much of him making sure and saying little things to know that he's down. I'm like, that's not even why I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So like, I didn't mean like, it wasn't necessarily aggressive.
Right.
But
Because when he said those things, how would you then feel?
it wasn't like a thing that I felt. It was nothing that I felt about it. It was more so like, you don't gotta say that. Like, you know
I'm
what I
already
mean?
comfortable with you.
Like I'm already comfortable with you. So to me, it was like trying too hard, or like it was just more so like, or saying like, again, going back to the whole thing, like, oh, you're different than everyone else. Like not blatantly say, like he's never said that, but his actions said that.
Yeah.
You speak differently, or you move differently, or you're educated, and it's always one of those things where you gotta raise a brow to it. So that's kind of. Have you ever dated outside your race?
I have dated outside my race, and it was similar. Like, I knew he had dated outside his race before because he actually had a son, and his son was mixed. So it was like, okay. But it wasn't too many microaggressions. It was just more so like, again, just certain things you wouldn't understand, or honestly, just certain traits I didn't like because it was like, you're just not assertive enough.
Yeah.
Because maybe because you don't have to be in the world that you are, but it didn't work for me. It was short lived. Yeah.
I can say, now that I am dating a black man again, I'm back. I'm back, people. It's definitely. I was talking to somebody else. I was talking to one of my friends. I was like, it's so refreshing. I don't gotta explain shit. I don't gotta like.
You could just be like them people, and then he'd be like, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was always an explanation of like why this happened, or like, well, you know. And I'm like, oh my god, like, you know, you explain it because you definitely want, you know, to teach your partner, regardless of what race your partner is, but. It's so much easier, and I love it. I love him, and we're good. Okay, so why do you think microaggressions still happen?
One of like the biggest words that I've learned is how to have grace, and unfortunately, people are just a reflection of whatever they're going through. So it's hard because it's like when I hear you tell that story about the lady who was like, she worked for me. That sounds like an insecurity that you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? It made you feel bigger in the moment, and you don't know how to communicate that, and that's how it came out. You know what I'm saying? So I've just understood that, unfortunately, you know, like I always go by, if people lie, you're not lying to me, you're lying to yourself, right? So it's the same to me with microaggressions is you feel some type of way and you don't know how to communicate that. You're going through something in your life and you're going to take it out on me because I'm in front of you.
You such a good person. I'm over here like, yes, and because I mean, like, I feel that way, but like, there's a threshold, right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't make it okay. Like, I want to clarify, it doesn't make it okay. I'm just someone like, I don't have time for what you're going through to put on myself. Like, I literally just don't have time for it.
Girl, so, I feel you. But somebody needs, some people need to ask what.
But that's why I say
some people need to be like, you know, told that they were wrong.
But that's why I say we have to be comfortable to say something and do it in that respectful manner, because I'm not going to let it slide, but I'm also like, again, I noticed that, but I don't have time to deal with you. So you go handle yourself.
Oh, I'm quick to point out some shade. Yeah. That'd be me. I'd be like, what? Don't do that. What you're not going to do.
What you're not going to do.
Literally. What do I say? That's literally, I was like, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. No, but I understand. Like, it's like, for me, I feel like, I think that microaggressions still happen is because not enough of us are willing to speak up about it. Yeah. And we pass it on. Like, I was having a conversation literally with my uncle last night about, you know, he's doing a documentary about his life and his coming into, like, we grew up in a very suburban area in New Jersey. And we have kind of passed as that token Black family. And we've had to come to realization of like, we was kind of living a little foul, you know, a little bit, you know what I mean? Like I said, going to an HBCU was one of the best things that I've ever done in my life, because it really like brought me back down to earth and brought me back to my, you know, back to my roots, back to my people. And realizing that at the end of the day, we are all the same. And no matter what room I can get in versus what this person can get in, at the end of the day, when something goes down, my back is against the wall like everybody else. And people are afraid to talk about it because we're used to getting in those rooms. We're used to being accepted. So when you feel like you can get into A and Y room, then you don't want to speak up when somebody is going on, because it's a fear that you will not, that door will be shut for you.
Create our own table.
You know, we create our table. Room, right? We can definitely, but now we are brave enough to do that. Like a lot of stuff is happening. But before there was a time where we weren't creating our own tables. And not only that, weren't creating our own tables, we weren't giving us the opportunity. It was like that crabs in a barrel mentality for a long time. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, and speaking about like the HBCU, because right now what's been happening is there's so many people that want to go to an HBCU but can't afford it, and they are Black that can't afford it, and now they're accepting white students and non-Black students to say that, well, we can't afford to be just a HBCU anymore. Like, we can't just afford to just bring in young Black talent. And that's the hard part, because people need to be donating to these HBCUs so that they can stay Black, so that these kids can have scholarships, and that so that they can lower the prices, you know what I mean? So that all these things can start to happen, because that's where we continue to have those opportunities for us to feel connected to our culture and to who we are as people.
But yeah, like, I mean, totally agree about that, like, as far as like the funding into the HBCUs, but also too, like, it's also having that pre-information about how to get these grants, how to get these scholarships, what you're doing. And honestly, that starts in your high schools, that starts in your homes. And I honestly, like, I feel like all higher learning is good. Whatever you feel is suited for you is what's suited for you. Everybody goes to different, like my HBC at the time, it's expensive now because like people are funding it now. Like when I went to Bowie State University, does not look like anything. I was just like,
Y'all came up.
Oh, we came up. We came up. We got all kind of buildings and stuff now because like it really goes to show like you have to keep pushing and funneling into these institutions. For us to be around people that look like us, to learn from teachers that look like us in a higher, learning facility. So like that's definitely very, very important.
And I do just want to say, because back on what you were saying, just as far as like, not being afraid to speak up and knowing that I think we're in a time now where so much is outputted when it comes to social media and getting like messages like these out where people are building more of a confidence like that we just have to continue to, like I said, have those hard conversations and trust that the right doors will open and close the way they need to. But like I said, because being in corporate now, like, we have older Black women that work with us and their hope is kind of gone. Like when stuff happens, they're kind of like, girl, I done seen this a million times before. Like they ain't gonna do nothing.
This is how it is.
But at least, again, I've only worked one corporate job, but my company, it's like they really are starting a culture where that's not accepted and it's not tolerated. And if you speak up and like you said, that paper trail and you're coming together and you have people speaking up on issues, like it can't be ignored. Do you want to be canceled? Do you want this to be posted? Like we're in an era where that can really be highlighted. So I think it's just, again, you got to stick to what you feel is right. And I think as long as you're respectful about it, where it's not flipped on you now, it's like the issues are being addressed.
Yeah, they have to be.
And that's something to consider because if you pull the right person in and you give them that moment of being like, look, we about to have a come to Jesus moment. I'm going to tell you what happened. I'm going to tell you how it made me feel. I'm going to tell you the implications of it as being a professional. They will be in rooms where you won't be because for whatever reason, and they can potentially become an ally, right? So that's where we bridging the gap, right? But if those people aren't willing to recognize that they did an impact, you know what I'm saying, like something that they might not have intended on happening impacted you in a negative way, then that's where do you go from there?
And the crazy part about it also too is like also speaking up about it, not giving people an exit because what'll happen, same thing with my story, oh, I'm so sorry, that is not what it was, but this is what happened. But this is like, if I tell you something that offended me and I don't care if you've got on your knees and started crying, praying to Jesus, if you put a but behind this and then tell me what was happening to you, to me, you're falling into a victimhood. You're not necessarily listening to what I'm saying. You're not taking ownership of the fact that you offended me, and that is a real microaggression. You cannot have somebody of a different background, creed is telling you, and it is, and this could be it could this vice versa. It could be Black, white, Indian.
Because I'm like, girl, now you're talking about accountability, right? And 99% of people have a hard time with accountability.
About like microaggressions within relationships, because this doesn't even have to just be, like Black versus white, like you said. It can be man versus woman. It could be woman versus woman. It could be any. It don't matter. Just two people trying to have a conversation. It can feel like that.
And that's posed into my next question. Do you think microaggressions happen within our own people?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, sometimes more so. It's just like, again, it's a reflection of what you're going through, and we haven't learned how to open that conversation to be receptive, and that it's not, like you said, when we hold people accountable, their first action is defense, to run from it. And we haven't been taught how to have accountable conversations, that's okay. You know what I mean? We all mess up. We all say things that we probably shouldn't have said, but now we need to fix it. So again, when you're getting to the issue of actual accountability, people have to be willing to look at themselves and know, I messed up. Let me just apologize. Like you said, no if and but, and I coulda, shoulda, woulda. This is just what.
And don't use the opportunity. And also don't use the opportunity to tell me about your grievances. You could have took it upon yourself to tell me about your grievances. We're talking about my grievances right now. Period. That whole, since you brought it up, nope. Call me next Tuesday about your grievances. I don't want to hear about it. I need you to acknowledge what I'm saying to you, because for me, that's true communication. And I do believe that, like I had an instance where I had to check myself. Like I was in school one day again. I went to school. I was in the suburbs of New Jersey, and we had school buses. And I went to school in Bowie State University, and it's in the middle of Baltimore and DC. And I remember sitting in the quad, we're talking, and someone's talking, and one of the kids was like, I don't know how we got on the subject of how you get to school. And I probably may have told this story before, but I tell this story a lot because it really made an impact on my life and how I see things in the world. We were talking about how do we get to school, and it's like middle school, grade school, and they were like, I was like, oh yeah, I take the school bus. My mom walks me to the corner. We got our backpacks. I need to our bus aide gets off the bus, puts us on the bus, and it was like, oh yeah, we took the metro, and I literally went the metro, and in that moment, I literally like, if there was a little Casey inside of me that screamed at the top of her lungs, was like, why did you say that? Why did you do that? And I had to realize that even though I grew up differently, but literally like, and just not to even be ignorant about it, I was like, those are two metropolitan cities. Like, would I have done the same thing
Probably
to somebody in New York City? No, because I know it's a metropolitan city.
True,
they take the bus, they take the trains at a younger age. But for whatever reason, the stature that I thought I had coming from a suburb versus inner city, it made me have a repulsive reaction that was very demeaning and very judgmental to that. And I know that was a jab to them. I mean, they didn't really say anything, but I can tell on their faces that was like, for real, like, you know what I mean? But in turn, they used to call me a white girl, like, even though we were all black.
Yeah.
But see, and luckily you had the self-awareness to see that for yourself and want to make that difference because they didn't say anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it ties back into our point. Like, we all do it to each other in different forms and fashions, but that takes a high level of self-awareness and want to, connect with people in a great way that you even want to see that about yourself. And again, how we got to speak up because they wouldn't have said anything, but inside it's kind of like, okay.
Right. And I
what
know
did
that
you
was
mean
like,
by that?
I know it was a,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I would have been like, bitch, where?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, I like to, play games on my show. So we're going to play a game, roll with it or bounce. And this is just to lighten up the mood. Sometimes we be rolling our necks and we be having a lot to say. So I'll be liking to play a little game to just lighten the mood a little bit. And this has to do with your dating life, okay? So you're going to either say roll with it or bounce, okay? They cheat on you by watching TV shows or movies without you.
What?
Like if y'all have a show that y'all been watching together and you not around and they decide to watch an episode.
Because I'm that person. I don't care.
I'm going to say something. But I'm going to still roll with it. I'm still going to say something because you out for that.
You roll for that. I'm going to roll with it because I can break up with you because you watched the TV
absolutely
show.
Not.
But
you knew.
But that's our show.
That was us.
And now you got to wait for me to watch it. Or
Crazy.
now you know information that I don't. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. All right. They dislike some of your friends.
I'm going to roll with it.
I'm going to roll with it. There has to be good reason and cause, right? Like, I don't like everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if that's understandable, now you not acting cordial or not acting respectful, that I'm a bounce. But you not liking them,
you don't gotta like everybody,
and maybe even voicing it. It's
you don't gotta like everybody, but you gotta respect everybody.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
That's it. That's all.
Period. They like the strip club.
Bounce.
Oh, I don't mind.
You don't like the strip club?
Roll with it.
Roll with it. Boo, she can't go to the strip club. Her boo's in the audience.
Like it? You like the strip club?
I don't like the strip club.
The question was, you like it? You like being in here? This is just what's in here.
Entertainment.
No.
Okay. She said she bouncing with it. Ellen?
I'll roll with it.
I know.
I'll be like, let's
she
go.
Like the strip club.
Let's go.
She like the strip club.
Like, hey, let's go. Where my money at?
They're too clingy.
I'm
like, what's clingy?
Clingy. I'm bouncing. You can't be too clingy. I need you to have friends, family. I need you to have hobbies.
To me, clingy means that whenever we're around each other, you need to be on me. That's what clingy means. That doesn't mean that you don't have no friends.
No, clingy. When y'all out together, y'all supposed to be together. It's about clingy is like what you doing, like people that don't got no.
You just
like,
up under
they just
me
up
all
under
the time.
me all the
no,
time.
I gotta bounce.
I gotta bounce on that.
No, I gotta bounce.
You gotta have some friends. That was like my number
one. You gotta have
rule.
some purpose.
You got a purpose. You gotta have a hobby.
Exactly.
You gotta have a hobby
outside of the relationship.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. They're the type to wear the pants.
Absolutely.
Who's the type? Me the type?
They're the type to wear the pants.
They gotta wear the pants.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
I got my dress on.
Too. So.
I wear pants too.
I mean, we both can wear pants.
So you saying both? You would roll and bounce?
No, I wouldn't bounce.
You would roll with it.
But yeah.
You roll with it?
Yeah.
I'm going to roll with it. I need you to
roll
wear
with it.
pants.
I need you to wear the
I'm in my
pants.
soft season. I'm not trying to do nothing. Well,
there.
that's the conclusion of Roll With It or Bounce. Okay, well, I want to wrap this up. I like to leave messages at the end of my shows because I feel like we all need to shed a little light, shed a little love in the world. What message would you leave to someone who may not know how to identify microaggression or even know how to handle it?
Listen to your intuition.
You took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's great. We are on the same page.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Your
amazing.
gut is going to be your
Yeah.
best guide in life. So
Yeah.
learn to trust it at a very early age.
Yeah. And just don't be afraid to speak up about it.
And if your eyebrow raised like this, or you go, the pop is
That's it.
happening.
Yep.
That's it.
So that's how you would identify it. How you handle it is definitely like keep your composure. And I would leave it. I like to lead in education, like because some people really just don't know. And like you said, there are some people that like to stay blissfully ignorant.
Yeah.
And you gotta take that ass out. Like just like wake up,
Yeah.
snap.
It's not okay here.
It's not
And
okay.
they might not learn that lesson and still be able to be your friend, but hopefully the next time they come in contact with another Black person, they'll understand that type of dialogue or whatever they said should not be used. So
And
that's what I hope for in those moments if we're not talking anymore, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I would also just leave that message of look for it in yourself too, because you got to look in the mirror before you look at anybody else. So just make sure that, you're taking into account how you affect other people. And if you see somebody eyebrow raise.
Yep.
So
Well, I just want to say thank you, ladies, for coming on the show today.
Thanks for
And
having
if any
me.
of you guys out there have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever it is, and you identify with anything that we're talking about today, and you want to get a little bit more information or you just want to join the conversation, please like, subscribe, share. Again, we got Michelle Brown and we have Ellen Branch, and that's it. That's all. Daz It Daz All is written by me, Casey Carnage, and produced by myself and Rick Barrio Dill. Associate producer, Bree Corey. Assistant producer, Larissa Donahoe. Audio and video engineering and studio facilities provided by Slap Studios LA with distribution through our collective for social progress and cultural expression, Slap the Network. If you have any ideas for a show you want to hear or see, please email us at info@slapthepower.com. And as always, go to dazitdazall.com and sign up there to make sure you will never miss a thing. See you next show.